Alright, so there is so much information and misinformation, both intentional and not intentional, in regards to Chinese stocks. So I want to address all that today, especially as it pertains to Baba and Nio. I know there's a ton of noise out there because despite the many posts and videos I've made in my private group to address exactly this, it was still one of the hottest topics in the Discord and on the live stream on Sunday, and it basically carried right into Monday. So I will separate fact from fiction from the absurd and tell you the mechanics of a delisting so you make the best decision and kind of understand the whole process. I just ask in exchange for you to gently tap or smash or do whatever the heck you want to that like button, but just do it once, and consider subscribing if you haven't already. And if you're wanting to join the party with myself and hundreds of other investors who were loving the super red week last week and are hoping for more red this week, consider joining the Market Insiders private group, where if you missed the Black Friday sale, it's okay guys. I gave it one more extension through this weekend, and prices will never be lower than this again. I do listen to you guys when you ask for it. You get access to 4 free courses that teach you how to plan, do evaluation, build up your cash, and a ton more for about 97% off the price if you had to buy them separately. And you get full access to me, my watch list with price targets, my buy and sell alerts, live weekly Q&As, exclusive videos, and a ton more, so check out the pinned comment. And before blasting me for promoting it, I have no ads, no sponsors. This is what YouTube pays me in a month, and I give half of that and half the group's proceeds to charity. So there are basically 3 themes that I see everywhere. And I mean, it's in the comments, it's in my group, it's in my DMs, it's everywhere. And no, nobody ever slides into my DMs like that. I can only wish that, guys, come on. So the first theme is Didi getting delisted, so every Chinese stock will get delisted because they are all Chinese stocks. So everything that applies to Didi applies to them all. Nothing could be further from the truth. When the news hit last week that Didi was going to get delisted, I thought to myself, well, it's about freaking time. With all the heat they took from the Chinese government before they ever listed, I was actually surprised they still listed to begin with. They basically thumbed their nose at Beijing, and that never ends well. And then I was equally surprised that everyone wanted a piece of the IPO. And I mean, I remember saying at the time that I wasn't a fan of the business from a numbers perspective. And given the fact that they were already in trouble with the Chinese government, I knew it was kind of doomed from the start. So I was not surprised at all to hear the news that it got delisted. But I was completely surprised again by the level of noise and people attaching every Chinese stock as being in the same situation as Didi. Yes, the government can force any of them at any time to delist. That has been true for more than a decade now. It's nothing new. So it could happen, but it has nothing to do with Didi's delisting. Second, the SEC put out this new rule, and since China said no to complying, all Chinese stocks are going to delist real soon. It's basically inevitable. The reality? The US is not forcing any stock to delist anytime soon. They have 3 years to comply. Nio and Baba are already compliant with every other standard of the SEC laws and rules except for one with this new law, which they just need the Chinese government to give just a little bit or the SEC to compromise a bit, and they will be fully compliant. This law was passed more than a year ago, and at the time the Chinese regulators said no to it. And that part is completely true. They said no a year ago. That was more than a year ago. Now Chinese regulators have said they are open to discussing it and have softened their stance. And if you want to pull back and look even bigger picture, the US has been passing tough laws since 2002 on Chinese companies, trying to make it safer and more transparent for US investors to invest in those companies. And the truth of that is, every law, rule, or regulation passed gets renegotiated, amended, or the SEC makes exceptions, or they kind of selectively enforce these things. They have done this exact thing in the past. They do it right now as well, and my guess is they're probably going to do it in the future too. So to think this time is different and they're going to take a hard stance this time is basically betting against what they always do. And the third, when delisting happens, your shares go to zero. As I've stated many times here on this channel, there is a very real possibility that Nio or Baba or other Chinese stocks can be delisted. It's why they trade at a discount. They probably always will trade at a discount given the mistrust and kind of the buy structures that are attached to them. And we have discussed this all at length on multiple videos on this channel. The risk is real and you must mitigate that risk. However, your stock is not going to delist and then go to zero. Now to be upfront, I kind of flippantly said the same thing in one of my videos recently as kind of a worst case scenario, and I was really trying to make a different point. For me, the stock might as well go to zero, as that is what I'm mentally prepared to lose on a stock like this. If a delisting truly occurred, I would take my loss and I would move on. However, that does not mean the shares will go to zero, and I honestly apologize for any confusion I may have caused. So what the heck does happen when a delisting occurs? Well, here are the most common scenarios that play out for an actual delisting. First, your shares can get pulled from the main exchange and then they trade on the OTC. The shares don't disappear, they just go to the OTC where the regulation is much looser and it's much harder to buy and sell stocks on that exchange. And you can pretty much guarantee big money will stay away for the most part, and it's viewed as basically a negative. It's not the place you want your shares to go. And the other scenario that can play out is you can receive equal value shares on a different major exchange outside of the US. Essentially, the company gives you equal value shares that would be listed on a different exchange. So Didi, for example, plans on doing exactly this. They're going to swap your shares for new shares on a new exchange. Now this process does take several months to execute, so you can imagine the pressure put on the stock in the meantime as they kind of make the transition. Bottom line, the risk is very real, but the information that is out there is very hit or miss. I am personally holding my shares as I have the risk mitigation measures in place, and if something changes, I'll definitely let you guys know. But let me know what you are doing with your shares of NIO and Baba. I mean, are you holding? Are you selling? Are you adding more? I'd love to hear what you're doing. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.